Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal Executive Council OKs electronic cargo tracking device for port operation. INEC says they do not have any cash 10 days to elections. Plus, Kurdish protest disrupts European Parliament. Details of these stories and more in a moment. Welcome. We begin the news tonight with a report that the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari today ratified a resolution to procure electronic cargo tracking devices for port operations in the country. At the meeting chaired by President Muhammadu Buhari, the cabinet members deliberated on the memo presented by the Minister of Transportation Muazu Jaji Sambo, where he affirmed that the cargo tracking device would in no small measure aid port operators in detecting under declaration of goods meant for import or export, ensure accurate invoicing, concealment, wrong calculations and other dubious practices within the port corridors. According to the minister, the facility is to be deployed by a Belgian firm Otisa in conjunction with other indigenous firms in Nigeria at no extra cost to the government. He disclosed that when fully operational, it is expected to shore up the revenue base of government from $90 million to $235 million per annum. In another development, now Defense Research and Development Bureau Bill 2022 passed by the National Assembly has been signed into law. This was contained in a statement by Senior Special Assistant to the President of National Assembly Matters Senate Babajide Omowarari today in Abuja. Other bills signed by the President are National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons Act 2022, the Nigerian Tourism Development Authority Act 2022, and National Assembly Library Trust Fund Establishment Act 2022. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari today met with the presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, at the presidential Villa Abuja. According to senior presidency sources, the meeting, which was held at Buhari's official residence, explains his 40-minute delay before arriving at the council chambers to chair this week's Federal Executive Council meeting. According to reports, Buhari arrived at the council chambers at around 10:40 a.m., about an hour after the usual time of 10 a.m. Here, Mama Olubisi Osibanjo, as she turns 90, entering the rare ranks of a nonagenarian. Close quote. Away from that now, the federal government, through the Ministry of Transportation, has reiterated its commitment to the promotion of efficient operations at the Seme-Krake border to enhance trade and economic integration among member countries of the ECOWAS. The Minister of State for Transportation, Ademola Adegoroye, re-echoed the federal government's position at the commissioning of 3 multi-million naira projects executed by the Federal Ministry of Transportation at the Seme-Krake Joint Border Post in Lagos. The projects included the roofing of 3 walkways for arriving and departing passengers, construction of 20 toilet facilities, and provision of 2 solar-powered boreholes as well as water treatment plants. Meanwhile, the federal government, in partnership with Harvest Plus, a global agricultural firm, have unveiled the first national biofortification recipe document put together to help mitigate malnutrition across the country. Harvest Plus leads a global movement that aims to rapidly scale up production and consumption of biofortified staple crops and foods made with them. Speaking at the unveiling of the recipe in Abuja, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mahmood Abubakar, said the document would provide adequate information for household food diversification, dietary diversity, and healthy eating. He said the commercialization efforts of biofortified food crops program by the government had paid off, as most of the food items had been tested and certified to be highly nutritious. In a separate development now, Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila has launched the second edition of the Bajaride Community Transportation Initiative as part of plans to ease the movement of residents and students in Surulere, Lagos, particularly due to the hardship occasioned by the ongoing currency swap policy and fuel scarcity. At the launch of the second phase of the Bajaride initiative at the Teslim Balogun Stadium in Surulere, Gbajabiamila announced that a total of 15 medium-sized buses with a 26+1 capacity and 20 air-conditioned 18-seat buses were earmarked for the transportation scheme. He said the two different sets of buses would commute an estimated 5,000 Surulere residents and 2,000 students on daily trips, noting that they intend to add more buses to the service. The Bajari Ride scheme was first launched in June 2018 when the Speaker was serving as the House Leader in the 8th Assembly. It kicked off with 30 brand new buses, 160 motorcycles and 25 tricycles used to empower and ease the movement of residents of Surulere. To the judiciary now, where the Supreme Court of Nigeria has adjourned the case on the Naira swap policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) till Wednesday, February 22, for hearing of the consolidated suits by 10 states. The Apex Court, which heard the case today, was filled to capacity with a retinue of senior advocates of Nigeria, other lawyers, and the governors of Kaduna and Kogi states, Nasser El-Rufai and Yahaya Bello, respectively. Recall that at the last hearing, the court had temporarily banned the implementation of the February 10 deadline of the CBN from making the old 200, 500, and 1,000 Naira notes cease being legal tender. The Zamfara, Kogi, and Kaduna states had instituted the suit against the federal government and the CBN. Meanwhile, Niger, Kano, Ondo, Lagos, and Ekiti states have also applied to be joined in the suit against the CBN and the federal government. Still from the judiciary now, a Federal High Court Abuja today dismissed a suit seeking to stop the forthcoming general elections over the exclusion of eligible Nigerians living abroad. Justice Iyankor, in a judgment, held that the existing law in the country did not guarantee the right of Nigerians in the diaspora to vote in any election. Hence, the suit lacked merit. Justice Iyankor said that where a right was not provided for in the Constitution, there was no need to enforce that law. According to him, where there is no law on an issue, there is no issue of the question of law on it. To electoral matters now, where Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) said cash for the mobilization of ad hoc staff is yet to be made available to the Commission with just 10 days to the February 25 presidential and National Assembly elections. The INEC National Chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, made this known during the Commission's consultative meeting with political parties in Abuja. Nigerians have been battling with the scarcity of Naira notes following the redesign of 200, 500, and 1,000 Naira notes by the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN). Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has postponed to February 22 after hearing the suits by the three state governments challenging the implementation of the currency swap deadline. Recall that the Supreme Court had on February 8 restrained the federal government from enforcing the cash swap deadline of the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) following the suit by the governments of Kaduna, Kogi, and Zamfara states challenging the currency policy. In a related development now, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has reaffirmed its readiness to conduct credible, free and fair election on February 25 in Imo, in spite of the violence in the state. The state's resident electoral commissioner, Professor Sylvia Agu, gave the assurance today at a news conference to announce the commission's preparedness for the election. Agu said that about 2.4 million registered voters in Imo were eligible to vote during the election. In another development now, the federal government's agency, Nigerian Content Development Monitoring Board, NCDMB, has signed a memorandum of understanding with the National Local Content Monitoring Agency, Senegal, on deepening of local content in Senegal's oil and gas sector. The signing, which took place in Lagos at the 7th Sub-Saharan Africa International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference, came on the heels of Senegal's preparation for its first oil and gas before the end of the year. Speaking during the signing, Senegal's representative Deputy Permanent Secretary Kos Petrogas said the country had a lot to learn from Nigeria, which has achieved 54% local content out of 70% target by 2027. The Executive Secretary, NCDMB, Simbi Wabote, explained that the partnership was not only to deepen local content in Senegal, but also a business-to-business partnership for capacity building in Senegal. Away from that now, the National Emergency Management Agency has received a batch of 150 Nigerians repatriated from Niamey, Niger Republic. According to reports, the returnees were voluntarily brought back to Nigeria in a chartered aircraft which landed at the cargo wing of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport. Speaking on behalf of the Director General of the agency, Mustafa Ahmed, the coordinator of the NEMA Territorial Office, Ibrahim Farinloye, said the returnees consist of 98 male adults, 11 male children, and 2 male infants. Elsewhere, the African Union AU has appointed former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta to lead its observation mission in the forthcoming general elections in Nigeria. The observer mission includes representatives from the African Union, member states, election bodies, civil society, independent experts, and AU organs. Its objectives include providing an accurate and impartial assessment of the electoral process and offering recommendations for improvement of future elections based on the findings. And while it is also expected to demonstrate AU's solidarity and support towards consolidation of democracy, peace, stability, and development in Nigeria. In education now, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, has announced the extension of its 2023 UTME registration exercise by 1 week. A statement issued by JAM's Head of Public Affairs and Protocol, Fabian Benjamin, said the development takes effect from today, Wednesday, February 15 through February 22. According to the statement, by this extension, the sale of e-pins would end on Monday, 20th February 2023, while the UTME registration ends on Wednesday, 22nd February 2023. In a separate development, the 14th Emir of Kano State, Muhammadu Sanusi II, today paid a historic visit to Kano State. His visit was coming barely 3 years after he was deposed from the throne. The former Emir was deposed on 9th March 2020 by Governor Abdullahi Ganduje-led administration. Sanusi II, who is the leader of the Tijaniya order in Nigeria, arrived at the Aminu Kano International Airport and moved straight to his mother's residence, which is located along the Ibrahim Dabo Road. In video footage, the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria was seen exchanging pleasantries with different delegations of family members, traditional title holders, and well-wishers. In the meantime, now Central Bank of Nigeria Makurdi branch has aided the arrest of 4 point-of-sales POS operators across the state capital for overcharging customers as much as 20% for transactions. Reports say the Apex Bank, in joint operation with law enforcement agencies, handed over the accused to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) Makurdi Zonal Office for further investigation and prosecution. A team led by CBN Deputy Director Harry Abo visited major markets and POS point outlets across the state capital. This followed complaints by residents over the exploitation and charges by POS operators, as some claim to be charged 3,000 naira for every withdrawal of 10,000 naira. In a related development, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State has warned residents and businesses in Lagos against rejecting old notes. He vowed that those who reject old notes will be prosecuted. The governor, in a statement today by Commissioner for Information and Strategy Wenga Omotosho, said the state government has joined the dispute at the Supreme Court, which today adjourned the hearing of the matter till February 22. When the matter first came up on February 8, the Apex Court said the old notes remained legal tender. Back here now, following the persisting Naira note crisis that has taken a different ugly toll today, aggrieved residents in different states of Nigeria, including Akwa Ibom State, have trooped out in protest against the lingering scarcity of 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira new notes. Some commercial banks in different states, including Delta, Oyo, Edo, Ondo, amongst others, have reportedly closed down some of their branches, with customers who still possess the old Naira notes stranded at parks, bus stops and markets across the country. Meanwhile, policemen have been mobilized to secure some of the banks in Akwa Ibom State, as skirmishes of unrest have been reported at the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) Udo Doma, where frustrated businessmen and women displayed chunks of old Naira notes still in their possession and lamented how they will dispose of them with the latest CBN order in force. They complained that the CBN's guidelines on depositing the old Naira notes were too stringent and inhumane, while pleading with the government to have a human face and assuage the plights of citizens. Still in Akwa Ibom, residents of Uran Ibiakuran local government area of Akwa Ibom State expressed delight in Governor Udomi administration for providing a good road network in the state. And speaking with our correspondent Esther Otoyo, they said the 8.5 kilometers in Duetonku, Ibiakuran and Ikritam communities road, which was abandoned by the previous contractors, have been assigned to another. Bikers who plied the road noted that the condition of the road was very bad, especially during the rainy season. They solicited the state government to ensure the completion of the road so development can thrive.
If the cyclists are not very good, I think one will definitely fall down on the road because of the nature of the road. It was very bad during the rainy season. I really want to commend the government for at least coming to the aid of the people, people of this area. And I think at the end of the day, people will be very comfortable walking on this road, and not only this road, all other roads that the governments are working on. If this is carried out and it is carried out to the level it's supposed to be, I think it will bring a whole lot of development to the people.
The road was very bad. We cannot drive even machine. The road was upside down. They turned people upside down. So the road was too bad. But now a small improvement. When it was raining season, water cross the road. You cannot see road to pass. Even machine, even car, nothing can enter. The water flow everywhere. Even to come to you and buy something and go, they cannot do it because of the road.
Actually, we were suffering on the road, but at the end of it, I think the state government has improved in what they have to do so that the people can live a better life. The suffering was that we normally have gallops on the road. Bikes were suffering, like when you carry someone, you cannot drive smoothly to the person's destination. Even motors, some motors normally park here and use their leg for trekking. So by now, what I see, there is an improvement. Because the previous company abandoned the road and ran away. So we are just hoping that this one that just arrived will do something better for the people.
Still to come in the news.
Thank you.
Ghana's inflation rate eases slightly to 53.6%. Do stay with us.
As Nigeria prepares for the general elections holding from 25th February 2023, broadcasters are enjoined to make ethical reportage their watchword. All political programs shall observe the provisions of the Nigeria Broadcasting Code and other extant laws relating to broadcasting. All broadcasting stations must adhere to the principles of pluralism and ensure equitable airtime to all political parties or views. All political programs shall adhere to the general principles of legality, decency, and truthfulness. For the avoidance of doubt, the broadcast of a political campaign, jingle, announcement, or any other form of partisan party identification or symbol ends not later than 24 hours before polling day. Hate speech is prohibited. Be professional. NBC, your right to quality broadcasting. Announcer Management.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian. From issues on politics,
hello Nigeria, I remain committed.
Security, education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyekan every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
was allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. for Legally Speaking.
Thanks for staying tuned. Now, in Africa, health officials in Cameroon say they have detected 2 suspected cases of the Marburg virus close to the border with Equatorial Guinea, where there is an outbreak of the deadly hemorrhagic fever. According to reports, officials are now tracking down everyone that have been in contact with the virus. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has sent more contact tracing teams to eastern Equatorial Guinea to contain the spread of the virus. 9 people are reportedly dead from the disease in Equatorial Guinea, where there are further 16 suspected cases. Still in Africa now, the United Nations says countries in the Sahel must do more to combat the trafficking of arms into the region. The UN says the majority of the weapons have been diverted from national armed forces in other African countries, notably Libya, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. It blamed both corruption and a low state presence for the inflow. Meanwhile, Somali government has ordered telecommunication firms, money transfer banks, and other business entities to register their businesses and clients with the authorities to curb money laundering and terrorism financing. In a news conference today, Information Minister Daouda Weiss also asked mobile service providers to register clients and collect their personal details, including fingerprints and photographs. The minister said the government's National Anti-Money Laundering and Countering the Financing of Terrorism Committee has also warned the public against aiding militants. To the foreign scene now, where the head of faltering Scottish independence movement Nicola Sturgeon has announced that she will resign after 8 years as Scotland's First Minister. The Scottish National Party leader, while making the announcement at a press conference in Edinburgh, said that she will stay in office until a new SNP leader is appointed. She added that she could no longer give her full energy to the job, noting that it is necessary to inform the public.
Second question, the answer is unlikely in the next few months. This is really about building Ukraine's resilience, because ultimately, yes, we're helping arm Ukraine for the fight as we speak now, and to
Still on the foreign scene now, UK Defence Secretary Ben Wallace says that UK will not be sending fighter jets to Ukraine anytime soon. He said that the focus not only to help Ukraine through seeing off Russia's illegal invasion in the moment, but to ensure that Kiev can defend itself in the long run. I recall that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had urged Western allies to provide fighter jets and arms for the war against Russia. In the meantime, French President Emmanuel Macron will discuss how to ensure Russia's defeat in Ukraine, as well as future mechanisms to uphold peace in Europe at the Munich Security Conference on Friday. The announcement came as Ukraine appealed to the UN and Turkey to press Russia to stop hindering Ukrainian grain shipments under the Black Sea grain deal. According to U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, after a meeting with NATO defense ministers in Brussels, Ukraine has a real good chance of taking the initiative on the battlefield. He also said that for every system that NATO will provide, it will train troops on the system. Meanwhile, as the death toll from the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria approached 40,000 today, the UN has launched an appeal for $397 million to provide life-saving relief for nearly 5 million Syrians affected by the latest disaster. And 2 more women have been pulled from the rubble in Turkey's southern city of Kahramanmaraş, even as hopes of finding survivors dwindle. The rescuers could be seen applauding and embracing each other in a video posted to social media as an ambulance carried away a 74-year-old woman rescued after more than 9 days trapped in rubble. Earlier in the day, a 46-year-old woman was rescued in the same city, close to the epicenter of the quake. Still on the foreign scene now, around a dozen Kurdish activists launched a protest today in the European Parliament on the 24th anniversary of Turkey's arrest of their leader Abdullah Öcalan. Reports say the debate session was halted for 3 hours and MEPs left the chamber as the protesters brandished banners bearing Öcalan's image and shouted slogans hostile to Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The French centrists said the protesters were on an upper deck above the Strasbourg chamber, some sitting on a balustrade and dangling their legs above the parliament's floor. Meanwhile, another MEP, German Social Democrat Bernd Lange, said the way the protesters were clinging precariously to the balustrade appeared as if they were threatening to jump. Meanwhile, an Italian court today acquitted Silvio Berlusconi over allegations of bribing witnesses in an underage prostitution case that has dogged the former prime minister for more than a decade. Berlusconi was accused of paying 24 people, mostly young guests, at his so-called Bunga Bunga parties to provide false testimony in a previous trial where he was charged with paying for sex with a 17-year-old Moroccan nightclub dancer. In a ruling read out in court, the judge said there was no case to answer. Prosecutors had demanded a 6-year prison term for Berlusconi, whose Forza Italia party is a key component of Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's conservative coalition. Meanwhile, Berlusconi aged 86, had denied the allegations and said he is the victim of a years-long plot by magistrates to hound him from politics. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. We have Blyden Okeb standing by.
Hello, good evening. It's business news. My name is Blyden Ukem. Ghana's annual inflation rate eased slightly to 53.6% in January 2023 from a more than two-decade high of 54.1% in December, helped by a strengthening cedi. Inflation is a measure of how fast prices of goods and services are rising. It marks the first month that inflation has slowed since May 2021, but remain well above the top of the central bank's target band of 6% to 10% for 17 months. Non-food inflation slowed to 47.9% from 49.9% in December, while food price growth quickened to 61% from 59.7%. Looking at Nigeria's economy. The annual inflation rate in Nigeria accelerated to 21.82% in January 2023, the highest since September 2005, from 21.34% in the prior month, against market expectations of a further slowdown to 21.3%. Inflation is a measure of how fast prices of goods and services are rising. Soaring food prices and a weaker naira currency were the main drivers. Prices of food, which is the most relevant in the consumer price index basket, recorded an upturn to 24.32% in January, from 23.75% in the prior month. On a monthly basis, consumer prices surged by 1.87%, the most in almost 16 years, after a 1.71% increase in the previous month. Looking at naira scarcity. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has reacted to a document alleging the Apex Bank has fixed February 15th and 17th as a deadline to deposit the old 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira notes at central bank offices nationwide. In a document titled Guidelines to Deposit Old 1000 naira, 500 naira and 200 naira notes at the CBN, it was stated that the CBN said it would stop accepting the old denominations from February 17th, 7 days after deposit money banks stopped accepting them. The CBN Director of Corporate Communications Department, Osita Nwanisobi, said he hasn't seen the document, but if his signature isn't on the document, then it should be disregarded. Nigeria's oil production. Nigeria's oil production increased month-on-month by 1.9% from 1.235 million barrels per day recorded in December 2022 to 1.258 million barrels per day in January 2023. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries revealed this in its February 2023 monthly oil market report. According to the report, Nigeria surpassed Angola, that produced 1.05 million barrels per day, to become Africa's leading producer, while Equatorial Guinea came last with 55,000 barrels per day during the period. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. At the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the benchmark All-Share Index inched up 11.35 basis points to close at 54,507.66 points. Compared with the previous trading day, today's data shows 24% decline in volume, 23% decline in turnover, and 20% decline in deals. The current market capitalization is 29.7 trillion naira. In the aggregate, 109 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 20 gainers and 16 losers. Triple G and Corporation led the gainers with 10% share price appreciation, closing at 1 naira 65 kobo per share. On the losing side, Sovereign Trust Insurance came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 6.67% at 28 kobo per share. Guarantee Trust Holdings recorded the highest volume of 42.3 million traded shares. This is all on business news. I'm back to Xavier Robert for the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Blyden. Still to come in the news. Philadelphia 76ers signed Dwayne Dedmon to add to front court depth. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now, in health, the wife of the Lagos State Governor, Dr. Ibijoke Sanwo-Olu, has emphasized that the availability of efficient and accessible primary health care will safeguard the health of the people. Speaking of the commissioning of a PHC, Ibijoke said that the availability of primary health care system would reduce pressure on secondary and tertiary health facilities, adding that it helps to keep people well and improve their quality of life. She further said that the aim of providing a PHC is to renew, restore, and rebuild on the existing legacies as an administration that is passionate about the well-being, educational, and economic growth of Orile Agege. Shilin Help, a non-governmental organization, Children with Cancer Intervention Initiative, has said prevention of cancer in children is possible if appropriate diets are maintained during pregnancy. Speaking during the World Cancer Day 2023, Dr. Lizzie Njoku described cancer as an uncontrollably growing cells in the body, saying most of the causes of pediatric cancer was unknown as research is still ongoing. She mentioned that insufficient intake of vitamins, minerals, and amino acids and insufficient intake of fiber diet could aid cancer formation. Let's head over now to Isaac for latest sports stories.
Well, thank you very much, Xavier Roberts. Well, in sports, the Philadelphia 76ers added some front court depth for the playoffs and signed veteran center Dwayne Dedmon for the rest of the season. The team announced yesterday. Dedmon, a 10-year veteran, averaged 5.7 points and 3.6 rebounds in 30 games with the Miami Heat. The 7-footer spent the past 3+ seasons with Miami, averaging 6.2 points and 5.2 rebounds. He shot 56.6% from the field. The Sixers have been thin and center behind All-Star Joel Embiid. They have used Montrezl Harrell and Paul Reed as a backup spot. Dedmon also briefly played with the Sixers during the 2013-14 season. We're talking about football right now. Nigeria's Match Day 3 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against the Wild Dogs of Guinea-Bissau will hold at the MKO Abiola Stadium, Abuja on March 24th, the NFF have announced. The NFF also said that Guinea-Bissau's Football Federation has not picked a date for the second match, which could hold either on March 27 or 28 in the Moroccan city of Marrakech. Guinea-Bissau plays its home games away from home as it does not have a CAF-approved playing turf in the country of slightly over 2 million people. The clash in Ibadan will determine after both legs which of Nigeria or Guinea will progress to the fourth Under-20 Cup of Nations to be staged in Morocco later this particular year. Well, finally, from the sports scene, Super Falcons defender Ashley Plumpton has said that the team is battle ready for their opponent at the four-nation invitational tournament in Mexico. The former African champions will be joined at the competition tagged Revelation Cup by host Mexico, Colombia, and Costa Rica. Randy Wardrum's side will take on Mexico in the first game later tonight. The Nigerian ladies are winless in their last 5 games, but Plumpton, who plays for English club Leicester City, insists they will end the barren run later today. The competition will serve as part of Super Falcons' preparations for the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup to be co-hosted by Australia and New Zealand. Well, that's it on sports. My name is Isaac. Over to you, Saviour. Well,
Many thanks, Isaac. And now on entertainment news, a federal high court in Lagos State today admitted a Nollywood actress, Oluwa Darasimi Omosheyin, charged with alleged tampering and spraying of the redesigned Naira notes to 5 million Naira bail. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, preferred 2 counts charge against Omosheyin, who was arraigned on Monday before Justice Chukwujeku Aneke. The charge bordered on spraying and stepping on the newly designed Naira notes. The defendant, aged 31, was alleged to have tampered with 100,000 Naira new notes by spraying and stepping on same during an occasion in the Lekki area of Lagos State. She, however, pleaded not guilty to the charge. In his ruling today, Justice Aneke admitted the defendant to bail and one shorty in like sum. Still on entertainment, veteran Nollywood actress Maureen Opoko has pleaded with Nigerians to help her after she unexpectedly lost her sight. The actress, in a viral video, begged Nigerians for financial assistance to help cater for her challenges. She further revealed that it had not been easy for her, adding that she is grateful to God for the gift of life. Meanwhile, French fashion brand Louis Vuitton has named Grammy-winning producer, rapper, singer, and songwriter Pharrell Williams as its new menswear creative director. The label described Williams as a visionary whose creative universes expand from music to art and to fashion. He is also the co-founder of the streetwear brand Billionaire Boys Club. The Louis Vuitton chairman and chief executive, Pietro Beccari, said in a statement that the role was previously held by high-profile designer Virgil Abloh, who died in 2021. And finally, on entertainment tonight, Netflix has released a teaser trailer, first look images, and a premiere date for the upcoming prequel series Queen Charlotte, A Bridgerton Story. The highly anticipated show charts into Charlotte's rise to power and epic love story with King George that defies all odds. Queen Charlotte will be played by India Amatavio, with Golda Rochefort returning as the formidable adult Queen, while Corey Milshrist from The Sandman plays young King George. The Netflix's Queen Charlotte, A Bridgerton Story, will premiere on May 4, 2023. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, wishing you a terrific night rest. Bye-bye for now.